way. So let's go ahead from there
Um,
and let you take the floor.
okay, I think I just sent you a request to share my screen.
Yeah, did that come back? It should have.
Let's see.
Mm.
There we go.
If you guys have questions along the way, what the way we like to run this is that if Dr. Black brings something up or you have questions or comments, drop them in the chat. And I'll do my best to kind of maybe interject those comments if they come across live time, if that's okay, Kyler. Um,
Yeah.
and then if we don't, if it's a deeper question that we need to kind of expound on, then after Kyler finishes or Dr. Black presents, then we will go through those questions and then open it up for kind of a live question and answer. So if there's other questions that don't pertain to this topic, that's the best time to kind of drop those questions and or get on and unmute yourself and then ask those questions at that time too. Cool.
Okay. Yeah, the hope is you get something out of this. So feel free to stop me or ask for clarifications or questions, whatever. So thought we'd talk a little bit about vitamin D tonight. Hopefully this works. What's going on here? There we go. Can everyone see this okay? Okay, so a little roadmap for tonight. We'll hit some statistics on vitamin D, some of the roles of vitamin D, what it does in our body, where we get it from, why there's deficiencies, medical conditions that are associated with vitamin D deficiency. I hope that you're a little surprised with the length of that list, and we'll finish off with vitamin D's role in cancer, and then obviously some questions. So I like that this is a little interactive. Anybody want to take a stab at this question? How many enzymatic reactions is vitamin D involved in our bodies? Guesses?
What is enzymatic?
So it plays a role in a lot of reactions. So when you're breaking down food products, each of those little steps to break it down from a carbohydrate to a simple little protein, vitamin D could be involved in a couple of those steps. We'll get into some of the other things, but
My guess is 300.
that's a fairly good guess. Any others? One more.
In the chat, we've got 25, 33, 3.
Okay, perfect. Um, so over 200. So David, you might be right here in the next little bit when as we keep learning more and more about vitamin D, but over 200 reactions that vitamin D is a part of in our body. It also influences gene expression, so it goes in and actually modifies, which proteins are expressed, certain things that are turned on and off in our bodies. Any couple guesses on how many direct influences it has on genes?
Well, if David was right with 200 or 300, then maybe we're right up there another 300.
These are the worst questions. Guess what I'm thinking, right?
Yeah.
So same answer, over 200.
Wow.
Um, so it goes to say that vitamin D plays a really an essential role in a lot of different processes. If I had if we weren't virtual, maybe I'd give you an Olipop or something healthy. So, um, David, maybe sometime when we meet face to face. Um,
I work out in the Orem location.
okay, when we're up that way. Okay, a few statistics. So actually about 40% of adults in the US are deficient in vitamin D. And I would say that correlates with labs that I look at. There's a pretty high number of vitamin D deficiency. Higher risk in elderly. Um, when you're overweight, it actually gets sucked into your fat cells, and so you don't have as much circulating in your body. Low sun exposure and kind of interesting, those who live above the 37th parallel don't produce as much vitamin D. So this is a picture of the 37th parallel. Essentially, anyone that lives above the Utah-Arizona border is at risk for vitamin D deficiency, essentially from October to March, because of how far we are from the sun. So everyone in Utah essentially has risk for vitamin D deficiency. Is anyone here not from Utah? No?
It
Okay.
looks like Claire. I am seeing one hand. Claire looks like she's not from Utah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm from
Maybe
New
you can
Jersey.
post. What's that?
From New Jersey.
New Jersey. Well, you're still in the same boat, I guess it looks like. Okay. Um, so vitamin D wears many hats. One very important in bone health. It helps regulate calcium and phosphorus absorption from the intestine. And calcium and phosphorus are the minerals that make up bone. And so it works with our parathyroid hormone to maintain appropriate calcium levels in the blood, which then helps bone health and a variety of other things. Very important in our immune system. So it actually helps in the production of proteins that help fight bacteria and viruses. It helps activate our immune system, particularly the immune system that helps attack invaders and then helps with remembering those invaders, our antibodies. It also plays a key role in making sure that the immune system, it's easy to have an on switch whenever you have something that it invades, but there should be an off switch too. And if you don't have that off switch, your immune system can keep running, and that's when you develop autoimmune disease and other things. And so it actually helps regulate when to turn that off and has an anti-inflammatory effect. It's got an important metabolic function. It helps in insulin sensitivity. The pancreatic beta cells help produce insulin. And so it plays a key role, this amongst some other things, in helping our bodies metabolize all of our food, fats, carbs, all of those things. Plays a key role in respiratory health. So it actually helps reduce airway inflammation, enhances immune defense in the lungs. So plays a role in fighting lung infections as well as asthma, and we'll get to that a little bit later. So adequate levels actually decrease asthma severity and respiratory infections. Plays a key role in our brain health and mood regulation. It helps regulate the neurotransmitters or little signaling molecules in our brain that help control mood and other things, and plays a role in regulating inflammation that happens in our brain. So low levels have actually been linked to depression and cognitive decline. I actually have a sister-in-law who her husband always teases her that he can tell when she's not taking her vitamin D because mood changes. Plays a key role in our muscle function, so improves strength and coordination. It's important to check specifically in elderly people because you have a increased risk of falls if you're obviously muscle and then back to that bone health is not optimal. And then this one we'll touch a little bit more on, has a role in cancer regulation. So it actually regulates how cells divide, make sure that they don't grow into goofy cells, and has a role in what's called apoptosis, where cells die, can actually slow tumor growth, and it helps regulate the formation of new blood vessels, which cancer cells need to grow. So anyone know the number one source of vitamin D? There you go. I see David saying the sun. Perfect. Sunlight. So actually, as we're exposed to UVB light, our skin has a way to convert a precursor of vitamin D into a form that's then goes to the liver and then to the kidney, and that's where we get the active form of vitamin D. So it's a little bit of a process, and it usually requires 5 to 30 minutes of direct sun exposure at least 2 times a week. Skin color plays a role in that. That has to also be sunscreen free. So if you have things on your skin or blocking your skin, that obviously changes the absorption. And like as mentioned earlier, distance from the sun. So kind of a unique mechanism in how we typically get vitamin D. There aren't a lot of dietary sources. Fatty fish has some vitamin D. You can get a little bit from egg yolks. I'd say most of it comes from fortified foods, milk and fortified cereals, which, to be honest, aren't the fortified cereals aren't always that great for you health wise and other aspects. So, uh, or you can supplement. Oops, we're going backwards. Okay, so why are deficiencies common? A lot of times, obviously, we spend a lot of times indoors, sunscreen use or wearing other things. We don't always expose our skin to the sun. Poor diet. Like I said, living in Utah or New Jersey. Um, I thought this picture was interesting. Maybe somebody that's ambitious should invent, if you have teens that are always playing the thumb exercise games, maybe somebody should invent a TV that emits UVB light or something that'll help them convert vitamin D or something. You'd be rich. Um, let's see. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. So this is one of the most important slides, I would say. Um, these are all, or at least a chunk of the conditions that vitamin D deficiency has been associated with. Talked a little bit about earlier about its role in lung health. So if you're vitamin D deficient, you can have more respiratory infections, worse asthma, plays. They've actually found that low vitamin D can contribute to obesity, osteoporosis, increased falls in the elderly, has a key role in heart disease as well and heart health. So high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, heart failure, metabolic syndrome, type 1 and 2 diabetes, depression, cognitive decline. And it even has a role in some of those autoimmune diseases, like I said, where it has that role in shutting down or controlling when the immune system shuts off. So it's been shown to be associated with multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, inflammatory bowel disease, and some thyroid issues as well. This one is really interesting to me. It has it's a huge player in cancer risk reduction. But you have to have, so if you have levels between 40 and 60 is what we shoot for. You can see along the bottom here, there's a risk reduction percentage. So if you are in that normal 40 to 60 range, you have about a 70% risk reduction to have in breast cancer, 50% colorectal, liver cancer. You can see all those cancers listed on the left. So it's very protective for a lot of different cancers. This is just another little graphic that shows specifically in breast cancer, you can see along the bottom here, those that have a level of about, and these are active breast cancer patients, talking with mortality, those who have a vitamin D level of about 17 compared to those who have a level of 30, there's a 44% lower risk of death just by raising your vitamin D levels by 13 points. Even better if you're at 40 to 60. So we're really at the end. I'm happy to open questions. But maybe just a little teaser before we do that. One other thing that can significantly reduce female and I would say male cancers and heart disease is hormone replacement therapy. Testosterone in men is very beneficial for cardiovascular disease, and estradiol and progesterone are very protective for breast, endometrial, ovarian, and other cancers, but it has to be bioidentical forms, not synthetic. So maybe there's a little teaser for a possible future topic, but I'll end with this slide and then take questions. Really having your vitamin D checked is well worth it. Low cost for the incredible value that you can get out of it. If you can optimize your sun exposure and then obviously taking supplements when needed to get to that 40 to 60 range, blood range target, you can really help yourself in a lot of areas health wise, from immune function to metabolism to cancer prevention. So anyway, let me take any questions.
There,
Thoughts,
there is a
experiences.
question in the chat here. So if you're insulin resistant, then you're likely deficient in vitamin D. Is that correct?
There is a correlation, yes. That's not always the case, but it is something that we always suggest if there is insulin resistant to optimize your vitamin D levels because it can help with metabolism. And there are other players in there and things we suggest as well, but that is definitely one of the things we recommend.
Follow-up to that is she's heard that you need D3 and K2 together. Is that correct?
Great question. It is better to have K2 with it. The K2 actually is best because it helps. We talked about how vitamin D regulates calcium levels. So it helps as you take vitamin D, you get more calcium absorption. And calcium ends up going in one of two places when more of it's absorbed. One is into bone, and the other one is into your blood vessels. And you don't want it to end up in your blood vessels because then you start to form plaques and have risk for heart attacks. So K2 actually helps drive the calcium into your bones instead of into your blood vessels.
Hmm.
Essentially, it ends up where it needs to go. So I do generally recommend K2 with vitamin D.
Is there a danger of over supplementing?
Yes, you can overdose on vitamin D. Typically, you have to take pretty high doses. So generally, depending on that's why it's a good idea to test before just taking it. I generally will base my dosing on the level, so say we come back at 20 or something, I'll recommend 2 to 5,000 and then usually recommend rechecking it in 8 to 12 weeks. And then we adjust the dose from there. A typical kind of, or a recommended daily dose if you're just to maintain is about 1,000, but we'll do bigger doses for short periods, but you don't want to do crazy doses for a long time. Great question.
If you take a D supplement and you also take a multivitamin, how should you regulate that?
Yeah, great question. So usually you just look at the total milligrams you're taking in a day. They're okay to combine as long as you're staying within a healthy milligram range per day.
And 1,000 is probably a good maintenance number.
Yeah, 1,000 to 2,000 is generally a good maintenance number. And then we'll go higher if we need to. If we have low levels and I want to build those up quickly, we'll go to higher dosing again for 2 to 3 months and then recheck it and then usually drop down to that 1 to 2,000.
Okay.
Yep. Great questions.
Why do vitamin D levels drop?
Good question. Most of the time we just don't get enough either sun exposure and we don't get a lot from our diet. You have to eat those specific foods. And so most people just don't get enough direct sun exposure or enough time. Like I said, everybody's body absorbs a different amount. Yeah, skin color and different things make a difference. And so, or altitude, how far you are from the sun, different latitudes, where you live on the earth. And so all of those things play into how much you end up
Absorbing.
absorbing. Yep.
Does sunscreen affect it?
Yes, it actually blocks
The
vitamin D production.
What's
mean,
your
most-
Should
opinion
we not
on
wear
tanning
sunscreen
supplements?
then? Sorry, should we not wear sunscreen?
Good
I
question.
know, loaded question.
Oh, well, that is a loaded question. Simple answer would be this. Generally get your 5 to 30 minutes a couple times a week, a few times a week. Wear sunscreen outside of that. Obviously, you don't want skin cancer. There are sunscreens that are better than others. So that might be a topic for another day too. What products, how do you determine what products are what? But
What's your opinion on tanning salons?
not good.
Another loaded one.
Not good for you. If you want skin cancer, go 3 or 4 times a week.
So, what happens to excess vitamin D?
Good question. So vitamin D is actually a fat soluble hormone. So if you get too much, it gets stored in your fat,
Mm.
and then it's actually toxic to the body.
What are the symptoms of that toxicity?
Yeah, good question. Generally, at first, you don't feel good. I mean, malaise, fatigue, brain fog. You can get muscle aches because you're getting excessive calcium, muscle or bone aches. If you get too high, death as an option, would be the ultimate thing. But generally, you tend to feel the fatigue, the brain fog, the muscle aches, some of those things first.
There's a question here. Does cod liver oil help with vitamin D?
Do you mean specifically, does it have vitamin D or does it help absorption?
Both.
Great question. So there are certain fatty fish that do have it. Cod liver oil generally has some amount of vitamin D. The percentages vary by product. Typically, they also have some other vitamins, vitamin A, and some things like that with them too. So I don't know if that answers your question. It does have it, but it varies on product.
Yes, she said that does help.
Okay. Good questions. Other questions?
Do I have to get more sun because I'm brown?
Possibly, yes. So
How
David,
much more?
you're allowed 30 minutes to 60 minutes
Awesome.
before sunscreen. No, you've got some extra protection built in there too we'd all be healthier if we had healthy skin like you.
Cool. I like the sun.
Where are you
Um,
from?
I'm Tongan.
Awesome.
And he's super strong. My gosh.
I'm actually having a basal cell removed in a couple of weeks
Mm.
that is under my hairline. I mean, so, even sunscreen or,
Yeah.
hats and hair don't keep those things from.
Yeah,
manifesting.
hair's not a good protection per se. And it's
Yeah.
interesting, a lot of those end up on your head or ears or
Yeah.
yeah.
Ears I can see, but under the hair is a surprise.
Yeah. Just do the sunscreen like shampoo. Then you're greasy and feels gross.
Hey, thanks very much.
Oh, you bet.
I have a question. but it's a little more of, I guess, interactive question. And it's just a personal experience that I've had. I've always tanned incredibly well. Um, and it wasn't until probably 4 or 5 years ago that um something shifted internally, and I've always been able to hold my tan through the winter. And now I don't. Now I hit October, November, and I go from like my nice summer tan, and October, November roll around, and I am whiter than I've ever been. Um, I would be curious to know what you would be looking for, or maybe what your assessment would be. It's not a lot of information to go off of, but
That's a good question. So what determines your darkness? They're called melanocytes. They're in the skin. And so when you get, exposed to UVC, UVB rays, your body produces more of those to help basically provide a protective barrier from the sun. Um, David just has more in general. He's born with more. So, um, and it's interesting, those levels vary and can change. And I may have to do a little bit more research and get back to you on exactly, I don't know specifically what it is with age that
Mm.
causes that, if it's genes that just are turned on or off, but that tends to be the case. As you get older, you tend to not hold on to a tan as well. It is interesting though, because for example, some people have more molds. Those come from those melanocytes as well, just groups of melanocytes. And we don't really know why some people have more than others, other than their body generally makes more of those melanocytes. So short answer is, for some reason you aren't hanging on to those melanocytes, or maybe don't have as many as you used to. My suspicions it's probably something genetic that just happens over time, but
Would
uh,
hormones play into be a factor there?
ooh, that is a good question. That's something I don't know the answer to, but
Yeah,
I will put it on my list to look into.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And we can expand this questions. I mean, vitamin D has been amazing, but if there are other questions, not to put Dr. Black on the spot, but if there are other questions that maybe you're working through, that's kind of the intent of this community. If there are digestive things you're working through, or reproductive things you're working through, or just like health questions in general that you've wondered regarding nutrition or fitness, that is kind of what we're here for, is to generate a community that you can come and get good education and information to continue on your kind of journey and path in health. So don't feel like we're just trying to silo this into just vitamin D. We'd love to hear all the questions.
And I just randomly picked a topic, and if we were to do this again, I'd be interested in what you guys are interested in too.
Yeah, especially from Dr. Black. We'd love to pick his brain. He's been studying for lots of years.
What do you specialize in?
So I did my training. I did a double specialty. I trained in internal medicine and pediatrics. And then I practiced primary care for 4 years. And during that time, did a 2-year fellowship in the integrative medicine, and then a 2-year fellowship in functional medicine. Um, I know those are kind of nebulous terms, so I'm sure everyone knows what pediatrics is. Internal medicine is basically your adult general specialist. So we take internal medicine doctors take care of everyone from 18 years to death. So it's kind of your pediatrician for 18 to death. So I basically, took care of everyone. And then, like I said, integrative medicine, we learned specific diets for different, we went through all the diseases and would basically say, these are the diets that have evidence for treating these diseases. Here's all the herbs that have evidence in treating these things. Here's all the supplements that have evidence. got into even some Chinese, a little bit of Chinese, a little bit of acupuncture, ways to manage stress. So like I said, everything outside of pharmaceuticals. So I do a lot of supplements. They're like I don't treat sleep with sleep medications anymore. That was what I learned in medical school, but there's so many other ways you can do it that have less side effects and things like that. So I've shifted more to as natural as we can go, the better. The least side effects. I think there's times we use certain things, there's a time and a place for antibiotics, but if we can use things that don't have side effect, least side effects and optimize health, those are my passions. Functional medicine, we learned really a more of a holistic approach to healthcare, how to look at a patient, in Western medicine, they teach you look at the heart, you look at the lungs, you look at the dermatology, the skin, you look at the gut, and it's really fragmented. And I learned a different way to really look holistically at a person and try to figure out the root cause. Why do you have arthritis and diabetes and osteoporosis? What's the connection there? And how do we really treat the underlying cause instead of just slapping band-aids with medications on these things? And then we learn different, more in-depth testing. So one example is in regular medicine, we just test a cholesterol level, and you look at that and go based off their total levels, what's your risk of heart disease? And we actually found that the size of the cholesterol matters more than just the number. So there's a way to test sizes. There's more in-depth gut testing that I learned. There's a lot of different tests that I didn't ever learn in medical school that we can use to help people out there. So it's been a journey, but it's been cool. Like I have a lot more tools.
You're crunchy. That's awesome.
I'm crunchy.
We have a question in the chat here. Does the lack of vitamin D have connection to depression? I've heard that that altitude has been connected to high depression / anxiety rates in Utah. Could vitamin D be one of the reasons, since we are in an area of low production and high altitude together? We have the perfect storm.
Yes, vitamin D is related to depression. It's one of the things that I give anyone that has mood issues. There definitely is a relationship to how far north you are from the equator. And so a lot of Utah's issue is more in those winter months where we're further away because of the tilt of the earth, we're further away from the sun. As far as altitude, I don't know how much that contributes, to be honest. You tend to have more anemia and things like that at altitude, so you have a little bit higher iron requirement, which may be part of that too. So I will have to look specifically about vitamin D and altitude, but there is a relationship between vitamin D and how far north you are from the equator.
Am I fine to share some of the data I got from my blood test?
Okay with me if you're willing.
So I have super high AST and ALT levels, and I got my liver ultrasound today, and they didn't tell me the gender of my liver, but they gave me lots of other information. But they told me I don't have fatty liver disease, and that's what I was thinking it might be. But what could be other factors to high levels in AST and ALT?
That's a great question. There's a list of things. So generally we start with an ultrasound because fatty liver is the most common. Generally there's blood work you want to rule out, hepatitis you want to rule out. There's some autoimmune conditions that can cause it. What were your iron levels? If you have too much iron, that can do it.
It was 99. Well, I'll just send you the report.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, there's a whole list of other things that then we start going through if that's the case. So they didn't
Awesome.
tell you the gender, but they did tell you no fatty liver, huh?
Yes, yes.
Well,
I thought
that's
that's what
good news.
ultrasounds are for, but apparently not.
Well, I hope it's a male in your case.
Thank
I
you.
also have a question about liver. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Um, well, yeah, I wondered if you just have any kind of general tips for liver health. I have really high bilirubin, and it may just be like a genetic thing, but I still am like concerned about it and wonder like, is there a general, like some general tips for having a healthy liver?
Yeah, great question. Is it just the bilirubin that's elevated?
Yeah,
Is that running your family?
my dad said it did.
Okay.
Yes.
You probably have something called Gilbert disease. So there's an enzyme in the liver that helps essentially the breakdown process and detoxification process. And there are certain dietary things that you can do to help that. Uh, just throwing out some general recommendations. Probably the best thing are cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, kale, cauliflower, those type of things. I don't know if you're a broccoli eater, but I'd recommend a serving of broccoli a day.
I do love broccoli. That's a great recommendation. I didn't, yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, that's what there are some supplements you can do, NAC, glutathione. There are a list of other foods that help, but
Awesome.
yeah.
But yeah, my dad did say it's probably Gilbert disease.
Yeah.
But I still thought, well, what if it's not? Maybe I should take care of my liver a little better or be more deliberate there.
Yeah.
I do
Well,
have like a yellow tint to my skin. So
is
I
it
had
worse when
someone,
you get stressed?
I don't know, I have, well, probably. When I was in dental hygiene school, my instructor was like, do you have hepatitis? I was like, no, I don't think I do, but I just was like kind of yellow.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet you do have Gilbert's disease, and it may be a little bit on the a little bit more severe side, but there are foods to avoid and foods to that you can do to avoid it. So if you wanted to talk some other time more specifically, we could definitely do that.
Awesome. Thanks.
Side.
Thank you for your time.
Bet. Good questions.
So is broccoli like the liver cleanser?
It's one of your best. So when we do detoxification protocols, that's one of the primary foods we'll recommend.
Broccoli.
Yep.
Why is that? That's interesting. I love that.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is about the cruciferous vegetables, but they help with that process of detoxification.
Getting all the crap out.
Mhm.
That's excellent. I love that. I'll buy broccoli every week then, I guess.
Yeah.
Why can't it be strawberries? I agree.
Strawberries might be on that list.
On cruciferous fruits?
Enough to-
Is there such a thing?
Yes, there are other foods. Like I said, I generally have a little protocol that I'll send people with a list of those foods. But
So we need to get you inside of Circle, but if you have like you said a protocol, but I'm wondering if you would be willing to kind of share that list. and we could have you post it inside of our circle community and chat, because I think that's something that would be interesting for a lot of people to just be aware of, right?
Yeah, and I'm happy to share a few foods. There are just caveat, you do have to be a little bit careful when you're detoxing. You want to make sure that you're drinking plenty, that you're using the bathroom fine. Because if you start, there's actually two phases to detoxification. And if you happen to hit one of those really hard and not the other, you can actually make yourself sick. So, I wouldn't be going on the broccoli only diet.
That'd be
But I'm
impressive.
happy I can put a few of those in that are good to eat just in general.
Listen, if somebody can go on a broccoli only diet and get sick from it, I would be very impressed, because I think the reverse side of the scale is probably more often the case, that we're just not getting enough, right? Like, so if we could make people sick on broccoli, that would be,
You would probably have to eat a lot of broccoli.
you probably would.
See if we could turn your skin green instead of yellow, Mary.
That'd be fun, like alphabet, right? My kids would love it.
I love that. That's funny. As long as you can get her voice too, then I'm in.
Yeah. Class on what not to eat for arthritis.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, there's definitely some anti-inflammatory foods.
Does it come down to foods for maybe getting away from arthritis?
Diet is big and gut health is big in autoimmune. Well, it depends on what type of arthritis. If it's degenerative or osteoarthritis, as they call it, that's a little bit more challenging. There are some things you can do. If it's autoimmune, then a lot of it's gut health and anti-inflammatory foods, but healing the gut's primary.
So what would be your first steps for healing the gut?
Good question. That one would be its own
Topic, I'm sure.
own topic.
Sure.
I mean, in broad terms, I like to envision it like a garden that's overgrown with weeds. So it's a process of making sure the soil's in a good spot, taking out the weeds. Then you have to throw in probiotics and prebiotics to make sure the soil's good. And then you have to do some healing to get the gut lining. Generally, it's supposed to be nice and tight. And when it becomes leaky or damaged or inflamed, you have to do some things to heal that lining. It's usually a longer process than a quick fix. So it involves changing the diet, using different supplements and specific probiotics and things like that.
We had a gut health class not too long ago, actually taught by Mary.
Yeah.
That is something that Mary's quite passionate about. So if you have interest, I'm sure Mary led on to some amazing things there too, Kelly. So going back to, I'm pretty sure we've labeled them, but if you want to look back at that first 20 minutes of the slideshow that she put together. I know that she talked lots about like sauerkraut and fermented foods and to heal the gut.
Yep,
Is a good start.
it's true. And sometimes it involves sometimes I'll do a stool test where, like I said, these functional medicine stool tests, I can glean
So much.
oodles of information compared to what we typically test, what the acidity of the stomach, what the bacterial balances are, what are we breaking down foods, are we absorbing, is there inflammation, whole bunch of stuff that you can glean from the test. And so sometimes those are helpful.
Well, so on the topic of poop, if your poop changes from like one day to the next day, do you still get the same read from one day to the next day, or does your gut health change that quickly?
It won't change that quickly
Okay.
unless you have a sickness that's caused like the diarrhea from one day to the other. It won't change that quickly.
Then something that goes from hard or different shapes or sizes or colors is going to give the same reading from one day to the next day, essentially.
Yeah, generally those changes are based off input, what you're
see.
eating and drinking and colors of foods and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, fascinating. Okay.
I get the question a lot, in pediatrics, like kids poop is black or red or whatever. And typically one of the first things you can test it for blood, but then you go to diet. What did you eat? Because most likely that's the cause.
Makes sense. It looks like we have some yes, high
Yeah.
altitude is considered a risk factor for depression. Good to know.
Hmm.
Poop needs to go in like a swimmer.
It does look like the depression, though, is probably more related to oxygen levels than specifically to the vitamin D has a different mechanism. Beets. I've always wanted to eat beets and then go do a colonoscopy, except for I'm always afraid I'll come out without a colon.
That would be a
Sorry.
good April Fool's
Bad
joke.
humor. I know, right? I missed my deadline.
You did. You got another year to prepare for that one. Uh, I love it. We've got about 5 minutes left, so if there's any other questions, this has been spectacular. Um, good engagement. I love it, you guys. You guys have been spectacular.
Yeah, burning questions.
I would love to know if you have very much experience with like perimenopause or menopause and how that impacts women's overall health and weight gain and all of that.
Yes, and we should do one of these on just that, to be honest. I've actually done some courses in in hormone replacement, and there is a huge benefit to progesterone in perimenopause symptoms and a huge benefit for estradiol and progesterone in menopausal women, but you have to use the right forms. So bioidentical help control symptoms. Progesterone is very good for helping control night sweats, hot flashes, insomnia, all of those. And there's a specific way to do it in a specific form. If you use just general synthetic progesterone that they prescribe, those actually are not good for you. And same thing in menopause. There's a huge benefit for hormone replacement in cardiovascular protection, preventing osteoporosis, mood. There's a long list of other benefits.
So why don't you have estrogen before, like during perimenopause? Why do you wait till after?
Good question, because you still have some estrogen when you're in perimenopause. And so generally you don't really mess with that one. And the levels are fluctuating so much during perimenopause that progesterone actually helps regulate estrogen levels. And so if you give the progesterone, generally your estrogen levels are more in a balance.
So if you have progesterone and you're regulating estrogen better and it's still low, would you consider it, or do you just take what you get with estrogen and just wait no matter what?
Usually the progesterone will control all of those symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you truly hit the menopause state, that's when you start the estradiol.
And you're typically not basing your therapeutic levels off of you're treating symptoms. Is that correct? Not necessarily numbers.
Correct.
Yeah.
There is a range on the estradiol you generally shoot for. There's not harm in giving exorbitant amounts of progesterone if you have to. And so you can treat with really high levels if you need to.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
And that's the one that really is going to help with symptoms.
One of the, I don't know what you want to call it, things they generally say about progesterone is it's actually good for premenopause, perimenopause, menopause, pregnancy, post-pregnancy. It's an important hormone all the way around.
Doesn't get enough
Postpartum
credit,
depression
does it?
is often a progesterone issue.
Huh.
So,
Cool. Good to know. Thank you. Yeah, that could be its own topic.
yeah.
Love it. Well, we're kind of coming to the end here. Unless anybody's got anything that they want to jump on and ask. You speak now or forever hold your peace, but I'm sure we'll have Dr. Black back on here. We just as a quick kind of follow-up, maybe I should have started this in the beginning. We've been working kind of behind the scenes to generate a summer health games, which is going to be in an effort to help you through the summer be consistent on your goals. And we'll have a number of different areas to compete in to gain points, things like walking or eating a wide variety of foods or vegetables or fruits, or doing daily affirmations, or the whole gamut of realms and areas to become better in, ranging from your fitness, your nutrition, and your lifestyle. We are in the process of kind of rolling that out. We plan to kick this off from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And then through that summer portion, you'll work to gain as many points as you can. And then for those that are local or can come, then sometime mid-September, late September, we'll do a barbecue and kind of celebrate as family and friend and community. Bring your loved ones, and we will do little giveaways there at that barbecue. But that is in the works. And look for those things on Circle where you'll be able to join and mash up with groups that are getting involved to maintain good positive habits through their health. Does that sound right, Sarah and Lila and Mary, as we've kind of talked through it? Is there anything I'm missing that needs to be added?
Maybe just announcements for this Thursday night meeting going forward.
Yeah, so we're going to pivot these Thursday night meetings just a little bit. This probably would have been better said in the beginning, but now you're not going to get bombarded with text because we've kind of shut that down. So next Thursday, most people will be on spring break here in Utah County. So we're going to take a pause next week and not have class next week. And then we're talking about moving this class time because as summer comes, it's going to be a little lighter later, and I'm sure people will have other plans. So we're wanting to move this class time to I believe it was a Tuesday at 9 a.m. Is that correct? Are my notes right? 9 a.m. class on Tuesday mornings.
No.
If you're willing to drop a thumbs up or a thumbs down in the chat, if that's something that works for you, I would love to just get a quick fill of where you guys are at Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. Obviously we can't accommodate for everybody, but we will do our best any other day but Tuesday. Oh, we're already getting thumbs down. We might be going back to the drawing board.
Yeah, we might have to reevaluate that life choice.
Maybe follow that question up in the chat with what time of day. We're kind of looking to avoid these evening because, as I'm sure you can hear my crazy kids in the background, we're trying to kind of avoid that family time that could potentially be spent, especially in those summer hours. Is there a morning time, sometime before noon, that does work? Pilates? Yeah, I can't interfere with Pilates. No way, Kelly.
Or is nighttime better?
Or
By
is
doing
night,
a
is this
people
8
work
o'clock
that
class
nighttime
best?
really is better for you?
Yeah, and if that's the case, then that's great too. I think we just are really honestly looking for feedback. Just can't do Tuesday mornings. Oh yeah, because it's Temple Tuesday. I know. Gosh. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Evenings are better for full-time employees. Love that feedback. Okay. So this 8 o'clock time is okay at the moment. Maybe recording evenings. Okay, good. Okay. Is 8 o'clock too late? I can just bring you on my boat. No, Mandy, because then I'm gonna have to like crawl through the screen to get to on your boat. Uh, it's not too late.
And
8 is not too late.
maybe it's a situation through the summer where we just don't do it weekly. We cut back a little bit so that maybe it's twice or once a month. Is that
I do
we want to
think
cater
if
to the people who are coming, to those of you who are here and joining us and involved. We want to make it
yes.
keep making it easy for you to come.
1000%. So as the gut feel that I'm getting right now, and this is kind of subject to change, but don't worry, I will send you a text and make sure you're updated on that. Think it's a good compromise. I'm just getting started and would love to support. Love it, love it, love it. So I
Yep,
think
we
the
want
gut
you to
feel
be
from
able to
behind
come.
the scenes is that we want to make sure that we are keeping these classes going and alive. But we also want to make sure that we're sensitive to that family time and especially that summertime. So through summer, I think you'll see a little less. It won't be, it's been each week pretty consistently for 3 months now, 4 months now. And I think we'll probably back it off to at the very minimum once a month, possibly twice a month, maybe like the first and third. And what I'm kind of seeing here is that maybe we're keeping it Thursday at 8 and we'll just back it off to once a month or twice a month. That's the gut read for right now. I reserve the right to change things, but for right now, we're going to keep doing that. I will get text going up one time when we do that, and it will go out an hour or two prior to the meeting. So just keep an eye out for those in the future. And bring a friend next time. We'll continue to grow this community. Does that work? Awesome.
Thanks for
Tyler.
coming, everybody. It's super good to see so many people here. It's really, really awesome.
It really is. And Kyler, it was so good to chat with you. It's so good to just pick your brain apart in a nice, comfortable, casual setting that doesn't feel that's just comfortable. So thank you. Thank you.
Happy to do it. Good questions.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night. Go bake some broccoli.